Thank you. So, my name is Ted. I was up on stage earlier very briefly, now a slightly longer presentation. My last name is Persson, and I'm a partner at EQT Ventures, which is the VC arm of a private equity company here in Stockholm called EQT. And we've been operational for a year and a half, roughly. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, that's my name with an @ before. EQT Ventures, live since a year and a half. We've done investments in, I think, 23 companies. Some of those having a hardware angle. I know there are people from iFlow here tonight. Another company called Varjo, which I'm on the board of, which is a Finnish high-resolution VR company. I'm also on the board of 3D Hubs, which maybe per se is not a hardware company, but they're in the additive manufacturing space. And they just gave out the 3D printing handbook. So if you want a copy of that, shoot me a note somewhere. And Sune asked me to have a brief chat about my experiences from CES this year. Consumer Electronics Show held in Vegas every year. I think this was my 7th or 8th year. I only missed one in that stint. And there are 180,000 people going to this event in Vegas. And when I started thinking about what to present here, two things came to mind. There were a lot of new TVs announced and a lot of massage chairs announced. So with that said, end of presentation. No, I put 5 different sort of observations or 5 different chapters into this presentation. It's very hard because it's such a big conference. The first one, which I think was the dominating theme this year, was voice everywhere. And out of the voice players we have, meaning I would say Google and Amazon, maybe, and with Microsoft and Apple as runner-ups, Google was the dominating one. And I think it's because their ecosystem is for free. You can include Google Assistant into whatever technology you want, and it's pretty simple. But they were everywhere. There was a big announcement that they partnered with LG, with Sony, with Lenovo. So it didn't matter where you went, there was a Google Assistant integration made. One of the most interesting ones, I think, was this smart display from Lenovo with Google Assistant, which is very similar to the Amazon Echo with the display that came out last year. But it was everywhere. This is the LG lineup with fridges and washing machines and the small robot they have as an assistant. Everything with Google Assistant built in. Another cool thing was the Optoma 4K projector with Alexa, which actually worked because it's kind of bulky with a beamer, the infrared to sort of point at it and stuff like that, and it really worked. And a lot of other companies either integrating the existing vendors or like Mercedes creating their own. So Mercedes had a big booth and a big presence around their Mercedes-Benz user experience vision. And they were mocked a lot by the media because their way of interacting with this built-in voice assistant was, "Hey, Mercedes." And they were just like, come on, maybe something slightly more innovative. So that was number one, voice. And speaking about cars everywhere. And this is pretty new. I think 3 years ago, we started seeing the automotive companies coming to CES. Before they were in Detroit and they were in New York on the auto shows there, and Geneva here in Europe. But they're automotive everywhere. And obviously, autonomous was a huge theme. This is one of the bigger announcements. This is GM's announcement of that they will be putting out a fleet of autonomous Chevy Volts with no steering wheel. I think it's still on the gimmicky side, but I think it's one of the more concrete ones. Another theme was that you see a lot of premium, especially electric vehicles from outside of the US and outside of Europe. So this one was, I think, one of the players that made the biggest splash. It's a Chinese company called Byton, and it's a luxury electric SUV. Very premium on the outside, even more premium on the inside. And of course, this is CES, huge display, and it tracks your emotion and everything. And I saw it, and the display worked, but what was on the display didn't really work. It was an animation pretty much, but very, very cool. Another player that caught my eye was Honda. They also announced a line of autonomous robots/vehicles, something like that. Some of them look like robots, like the ones to the left. But the one that really caught my attention the most was the one here to the right, which is kind of like a quad, but without a driver's seat. And it's a modular platform. So their idea is that you can equip it with different plugs, so you can turn into a farming machine or a utility tool or whatever that is. And I want one. I don't know why. But the absolutely coolest thing I don't know if this is a car, but in the vehicle space was Toyota's e-pallet concept, and this also won all the best in shows by the tech websites. So it's hard to display to nail what it is. They call it a multi-purpose moving space, which is kind of vague. So it's anything, and it can come to you. So it could be a workplace. Maybe you could just be in the sofa, but okay, a workplace that comes to you so you can work. It could be like a food truck. It could be an advertising space. It could be a restaurant. It could be basically anything. So I think it's kind of an innovative vision of what the future could be like, but maybe a bit gimmicky. So that was number 2, cars everywhere. Moving on to number 3, and this is about immersive computing. So a few years back, VR was everywhere at CES. This year, VR had moved into the background, and AR was everywhere. One could say. So on the VR side, there were some interesting announcements. HTC announced their Vive Pro with a slightly better display and wireless capabilities, but the real innovation was in VR. And the coolest gadget I saw there was the Vuzix, who has been a leader in this space for a long time, and they managed to shrink the goggles down into a form factor that is almost acceptable, I would say. Still on the Google Glass side, it looks like wearing a Segway in your face somehow. But it maybe next generation. And as we know, Apple is working on something, and yada yada yada. So yeah, a lot of AR. Fourth, beyond hardware, and I think this is a movement that we've seen the last years as well. So there are more and more non-hardware companies present. So this year there was a huge haul just for non-hardware startups. So I think this is starting to become like the epicenter, not just for consumer electronics, but for tech on a wider scale. So as a VC, I cover Europe mainly, but it actually makes sense for me to fly to Las Vegas because there are more than 500 European startups brought there by various European startup associations in one hall. So I could just walk around and cherry pick, which was good. And fifth, the category for everything I couldn't fit into any of the other categories, I call it random. So these are just some interesting things I saw there. And I started talking about TVs, so I had to at least have one or even two TVs. I think this one was kind of cool. It was called The Wall. It's by Samsung, and in the configuration they showed it was a 146-inch modular micro LED display. And what's cool about this is that it's made up of 5 by 5 centimeter blocks. So you can configure this however you want. You can build super big displays or small displays and displays that do not fit the normal form factors or ratios of a TV. So that was cool. LG wanted to do something different, so they had a rollable OLED. And this is one of those innovations that they really try to, what should we make out of it? Can we bend the phone? Can we bend the TV? And here they have a concept where the TV rolls down into its base like this, which kind of cool. Maybe it got a lot of attention there because it's almost like magic, because it feels like it's just rolling down and then it just disappears. Sony Aibo is back. I don't know if you remember this from the shift of the millennia. This robot dog that they discontinued 5-6 years ago. It's back, and everyone thought it was cute. I don't know what it's for, really. I don't think anyone knows. Razer also made a big splash. Every year they have a new prototype. They had a project called the Linda this year, which is in essence a dock for their new Razer phone. So you just plop the Razer phone into this base, and it becomes the trackpad of the computer, and you can carry it around. And I thought it was cool until my girlfriend had joined me. It's just like, what if you need to use the phone? So it's not a multitasking device. Still think it's cool though. Speaking about gaming, Razer is a gaming company. NVIDIA, they're blurring the lines between monitors and TV. So they released a line of 65 or 55, 65, 75-inch gaming displays, which are all 120 hertz. So they're good for gaming, which I think is pretty cool now when displays are cheaper. One of the weirdest ones, a ping pong robot that never lost. I tried to play against it, and it got like this super creepy voice heckling you all the time. I'm not sure I would get permission to have one of these at home though, but it's pretty cool. This one was very nice, maybe not as the last one. This is a duck which is designed for hospital use for sick kids, so they can relate to what they're going through, both in terms of emotions, but also in terms of treatments and stuff like that. So maybe not the most innovative tech, but a very, very nice packaging. Holograms, I think this one's kind of cool. Whoops. Here we go. Kinomo Hypervision. So it's in essence a propeller, and it just with an OLED on, but since it spins so quickly, the illusion is that it's a hologram that floats in midair. So some Blade Runner effect for you. So one of these propellers is $300, meaning that they have to put together a lot of them to create something cool. These have been out for some time, but now they're getting affordable. I thought they were cool. And then Netflix did a stunt there. So they were launching a new series called Altered Carbon. So they had a fake booth for Psychesec or something like that, and they fooled, I think, no one, but still kind of cool. And I think the thing that most people will remember from this year's CES was that halfway through there was a big blackout. So every piece of tech just stopped working. And first people were really afraid, actually, because of what happened in Vegas previously. But then people just started talking to each other and not just looking around. So I think there's like a unique experience. And then someone started making a joke, because previously Kodak had launched their cryptocurrency effort. So someone said that Kodak had just plugged their miner in and stolen all the energy. So that was, in essence, my 4+1 observations. And on the slightly more serious note, what I think is interesting with CES is that everyone goes there, and it's sometimes hard to sort out whether a new innovation, a new product, is this the future of this company? Is this like a board meeting thing? Or is this something that this company did just because they could? So Samsung, we make screens, we make ARM processors, we make voice stuff. Let's plug it all together into one thing. They just do stuff because they can. Or is this just a marketing stunt? So it's all three of those, and sometimes it's hard to know which is which. But I think that's what makes CES so interesting. So that was it. My name is Ted, and maybe if anyone would have any questions. Otherwise, there's a break, right? Thank you.